back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. We are all hungover. I'm doing all right. I got to sleep in though. You had to go into work and work a double today.
I got to sleep mostly all day and watch old WWE pay-per-views. I watched like 6 Royal Rumbles.
That's fucking awesome.
Shout out WWE Network.
Well, glad you got to have a good nap time on the couch. I got to sleep in most of the day. Dan had to work, but we'll try to drag him
and fuck you.
Try to drag him through a tight ends ranking episode here as we knock out the last of our rankings episodes here. We are Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Follow us on Twitter at BeerFueledFF. I am at Nick Sparts. Dan Theory struggling over there across the table from me.
At Theory BFF, what's up?
And rocking his wrestling shirt is Christopher Hopper.
Hey.
It's that.
At Hot BFF with 2 P's. How's it going?
All right, on today's episode for you, we obviously have a beer preview. We're going to go through a lot of training camp news because it's that time of year, not type of year, also that type of year. And we'll go ahead and jump into our tight end rankings. We're going to do this in just one episode because, quite frankly, once we get through about 20 of them, doesn't really matter much anymore for most leagues. So, before we jump into anything else out, are you doing a little bit longer on the listener league entries or no?
Yep, just because we're recording late on Sunday, we're going to run that till whenever we record the Wednesday, Friday episodes next week. So, once we figure that out, I'll tweet that out. But yeah, we're going to run it a little longer. Just like I said, because we're recording late on Sunday, I've got to be at work at 4 a.m. It's 8:42 p.m. and we're doing Monday's episode right now. So just not going to have time to push that out tonight. So.
He did clarify that it was per Dan's schedule, and here we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
It sucks.
Definitely per Dan's schedule. That's the asterisk that goes on everything right now.
It'll get better, so I swear.
If they do want to jump on these last couple days, how can they do that?
Definitely look at our Twitter because I think I spammed it out the last few days. But DM at Hot BFF a screen grab of a Fantasy Cares donation at fantasycares.net, a iTunes review, or you subscribed on YouTube, and we'll get you put into that drawing. And I will, like I said, those will probably be cut off whenever we sit down to record the Wednesday episode for next week.
So you have a week-ish at most.
Yep.
All right, and as always, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped, BeerFueledFF, and YouTube is Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. How we should we hit a beer preview?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't want to drink more beer, but sure.
That is blasphemy on this show.
I'm feeling rather blasphemous today.
Well, we did drink a lot last night.
But
apparently
it's game time. You got to get your game face on and get ready to play. And for that it's drinking beer.
Just gonna hide my eyes this whole episode.
All right, so we got Tighthead Brewing Company's Mechanics Grove. Second time Tighthead had been on the show. What was the one we had on for them the first time? It was Lion something.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember. I remember what the what the can art looked like because it was like the baseball that was on fire or whatever on the front of it.
That's like an older one, isn't it?
It's been about a year. I think it was last summer. Because we had Tighthead and Triptych on in the same week. I remember back. I think it was last July. But yeah, the second time on the show, they're based out of Mundelein, Illinois, which is just north of Chicago. And it's a Maibock lager, clocks in at 6.7%, so Hopper should be feeling great after this first episode.
Hair of the dog, right? And just, you know, 12 hours later.
Yep, we'll either need to grab him a garbage can or he'll be feeling amazing, one of the two. All right, shall we get through this massive training camp news list?
Yes, I'm excited for this.
News.
So, I don't know if you did this on purpose. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump into you, but we had tight end on episode 26, tight end redraft rankings last year. we had Go-Go Wit.
Go Wit, that's what it was. All right.
Wow.
That's fucking amazing.
The official beer of tight ends?
I guess. Tighthead with tight ends.
The official beer of tight ends.
Because we like tight things.
Like the camera effects work, by the way. Let me throw on my hat at that. Didn't like the fact that you guys couldn't see my face, so here I am.
Oh, so well, yes, well done there. And also, I forgot to mention, this is episode 150.
It is episode 150.
150.
Yep, 124 episodes later, we get them back on. But yeah, not quite as big of a deal as episode 100 was, or episode 200 will be. Sometime in, I believe it's November. I calculated that out. But it's just kind of fun to celebrate that we are here at 150 episodes. Cheers to you guys.
And thank you to all you guys out there for listening. And for dealing with us for this long.
Yeah,
it's been interesting.
If any of you have been around for all 150 episodes,
I'm sorry.
you might have some masochistic tendencies.
For those of you that are new, though, welcome. And for those of you that have been around, maybe not the full 150, but have still hung with us, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be here for a while.
All right. Now back to the news. Carson Wentz avoided the active PUP list, so he will he's medically cleared to go.
I assumed that after he was running around at OTAs and everything that he wasn't going to start in the PUP. So I had no concerns about that. That's why there hadn't been any mention of, fading him due to potentially missing games like, Deonta Foreman, for example, or, any Nick Foles hype coming out of this show.
Was there Nick Foles hype coming out of this show?
No, there wasn't. That's what I'm saying.
I've always had him
no Nick Foles hype coming out of the show because we expected Wentz to be healthy.
Yeah. It's a little surprising considering how late he tore it, but basically everything over the offseason was saying he was going to be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, after watching AP make his make that remarkable comeback, I'm just not surprised anymore by these things.
All right. And then even less surprising, Watson avoided a PUP list. He tore his a few weeks earlier, so he was even better timeline to come back week 1.
Yeah, same with that. No surprise there.
All right. Rams signed Todd Gurley to a 4-year, $60 million extension through 2023.
And Lev Bell's like, hey, guys, you thought I was crazy. Doesn't really change anything. We knew that Gurley was going to be good for Dynasty. I didn't think that they wouldn't get anything, that there was a scenario where they wouldn't get anything done. There was no talks of holdouts or anything like that. So just, it's news, but it's not news that requires any sort of action or adjustment.
Yeah, he was already a top 2 or 3 Dynasty running back. He was a top 4 redraft running back, so it doesn't change much.
Yep, just stay the course with him.
If you're an owner already, though, it's kind of nice knowing he'll be with McVay probably longer than McVay's there for most coaching careers.
Yeah.
St. Paul Pioneer Press, Chris Thompson reports that Dalvin Cook knee will be full go at the start of training camp, and reports coming out today was that he looks even better than he did last year.
Yeah, his highlights are they're good.
Another one that's not necessarily surprising, though, because of how early he tore his. Yes, it's a running back, so it's a little bit harder than on a quarterback, but still, he tore it early enough to where it was whatever.
Yeah. And just seeing all these good reports coming out of the ACL injuries, just reminding people, go buy Hunter Henry if you can in Dynasty right now and try to get him at a discount because he should be very good to go next year.
Yeah,
he'll be fine.
Texans GM Brian Gain is not sure if Deontay Foreman will be ready for week 1. He is on the PUP list.
He won't be. I've said this the entire offseason. It doesn't change my tune. Even if he is, he's not going to be anywhere close to 100%. But I think that he starts the season on the PUP list, and you see him week 7. But he's just a stay away from for this season.
Yeah, I'd be trying to buy him too because he's going to be cheap. He's already cheap, I think, but you probably get him for even free if someone dropped him.
You might be able to get him for free. But I doubt it. What does this do to Lamar Miller's draft stock and redraft?
I mean, it should push him up into the end of the 3rd, I would think. For those that were still holding out hope for Deonta Foreman, I mean, I've been saying the entire it doesn't change his stock for me because I've said the entire time he should be going 3rd or 4th round, and it's just going to be more of the same. He's going to be a high volume, low efficiency running back, but volume makes fantasy production.
Yeah, so it won't be sexy, but
never is, but it'll get it done.
All right, moving on to Elijah McGuire. Broke his foot. He's going to get surgery and he's going to miss 3 to 6 weeks, so he may miss the start of the regular season and is going to miss all his training camp reps.
He's getting hype as being the new 3-down back.
Third down back?
Third down back to replace Powell.
You love flipping those terms around.
I do. It's been a long day. But he's got to come back. He's got to beat out Powell, in that mid-season. If Powell looks strong to start the year, he may not be able to give that roll up. So I'm staying clear of the short-lived McGuire hype train.
They apparently were kicking the tires on Morris and Darkwa. Mm-hmm. Morris was the one they wanted, but they couldn't get a deal done with him. So,
well, that's even weirder to me if you're looking for a third down back replacement because Morris nor Darkwa are necessarily known for their receiving chops,
especially Morris.
Morris. So
stone hands.
Maybe they're looking for something else then, because Crowell actually is a competent
good receiving back.
I like Crow even more now.
That's the biggest thing for me is that it boosts Crow up because Powell I wasn't concerned about. McGuire, it was okay. What's this role going to be? And now with him missing time, missing reps, I think it just gives Crow more time to take a stranglehold on that job, and he's going at an insane value last I looked.
Yeah, he was in like the 8th. or 9th.
That might move up a little bit, but I can't think. I don't know how
Still,
much more.
he-
This is great for us.
He belongs in the 5th or 6th with Lynch right now.
Yeah.
All right. Cam Meredith, with his ACL, MCL knee injury, avoided the active PUP list, and he will be full go for the start of training camp.
The Saints wide receiver too, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he's gonna skyrocket up these ADPs. People were waiting to see what the news was on him, and now we got it. And he's got good reports so far in camp.
And he tore his up in training camp last year. So
Yeah.
again, it wasn't necessarily a scenario where I was ever concerned with him not being good to go this season.
I'm gonna like him a lot more too if they move him into the slot.
I believe
too.
he
Oh,
primarily plays the slot, so he should be there.
Yeah, he's kind of built like Quincy Anuna, who also plays
Yeah.
slot.
Yep.
Ian Rappaport reports Malcolm Mitchell underwent a procedure on his troublesome knee. It was not a surgery, though, so I'm not sure how you can have a procedure but not a surgery. But
It was probably just a scope or a cleanup or something.
it is also being reported that he's on the trade block at the same time, though. So this is just real bad Malcolm Mitchell news.
Okay.
How does it shake out for the team?
maybe if he goes to Dallas, he'll have a little more things, or I guess Buffalo. But right now, he's
I mean, he's got to land someplace, and
exactly.
he was getting some hype, I guess, with Hogan, with Matthews, and the fact that they paid him. I'm not surprised he's on the trade block, and Kenny Britt's still there.
Yeah, and
We'll keep that.
Just throwing that
Nick
out
will
there.
keep that dream alive.
no, I won't. I will bury him myself. Dorsett's also there for some reason.
That's right.
And Patterson.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Cordero
fuck.
Patterson's there too. I forgot about that.
Zay Jones is on the active NFI list.
From his knee stuff, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Wide receiver Carlos Henderson was placed on the reserve, did not report list by the Broncos.
He's gone.
That's interesting to me. He's done.
Yeah.
With them drafting Deshaun Hamilton and Cortland Sutton, I don't see any way that Carlos Henderson makes this roster, especially if he's not reporting. I'm not sure why he wouldn't report, but
He's been hurt. There's been, their head coach has come out and said that he needs to be able to practice and play, and he can't do the other. I love Deshaun Hamilton now in this role because I think he's more of that slot guy that they'll need.
and they're moving DT around too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that says that you're going to see some of Hamilton and probably some of Sutton this year.
The reports on Sutton early in camp have been awesome, too. Apparently,
Yeah,
he's just been
great.
schooling people.
Good.
Delaney Walker got a 2-year, $17 million contract extension through 2020, includes $12.8 million in guaranteed money. Is this for Johnny Smith?
This is for Johnny Smith. You're going to have to wait a little longer on that Johnny Smith hype train. I wouldn't be surprised to see him flash more and continue to flash, but as far as taking over, the fact that they paid Delaney Walker and that he is so utilized and, it just kind of kills that a little bit. So,
and tight ends can
unfortunately.
produce through age 35, 36, especially with Walker's. The way he wins is just by boxing people out with his size.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be fast to do that.
This might be a Greg Olson type of situation where he'll take a maybe turn, maybe team 2, but I think this also marks that Tennessee believes that they're in their true window when you give a guy like Walker that extension, which is great for them.
And I could see him running more 2 tight end sets and trying to create mismatches that way. They don't have a ton of wide receiver weapons behind Davis and Matthews.
those were the reports that I saw early in camp too, is that they were going with a lot of 2 tight end sets. So, I mean, that's the other thing to look for. You're not going to get Gronk and Aaron Hernandez production out of it, but in 2 tight end leagues, he still could be viable.
Yeah, so this put some cold water on him. It kind of sucks for anyone who's been stashing him.
Still stashing though. Don't go out and cut him or anything like that. He's still talented, and he's only going to be a second-year player. Most tight ends start to produce in year 3. I'm not sure how the money on Walker's deal is structured.
I haven't seen it yet.
So just
You can go out and buy John Smith. Maybe
hold
someone
on.
will get pissed off and drop him, and that's when you can scoop him up.
There you go. Vance McDonald was carted off the field with a foot injury on Sunday. We do not know the scope of it.
I'm hoping it's severe.
We here at Beerfield Fantasy Football do not support player injuries.
No, but Nah, I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, though, just because it was one of those kind of messy situations where there was no clear cut between him and Jesse James, who was actually going to get the work. So it cleans that up and makes it easier to predict. That's the only silver lining that comes with injuries. Things get easier to predict.
It depends on the injury, but sometimes it does.
For this situation,
For this situation, yes.
Yeah, it turns it from probably neither one's viable to Jesse James might be a fill-in.
Maybe. It wasn't much last year when McDonald was hurt, too.
All right. Panthers right tackle Darrell Williams suffered a dislocated kneecap and an MCL tear in Saturday's training camp practice.
Jesus.
He was PFF's number 3 graded tackle last year and a big piece of that run offense.
Is that for CMCs?
No.
And in between the
Anderson.
tackles?
And Anderson, but it's more so for, I mean, it's maybe not a bad thing for Cam that the right tackle's hurt because he'll have to run for his life even more than he would beforehand.
So Russell Wilson,
So-
2.0.
So, yeah, that's kind of my analysis on that, though. I think that the interior line matters more to running between the tackles and,
They lost Norwell, now they lost Williams. So
yeah, so the line sucks.
And now they have the 2 worst of the Khalils.
So if it does become a situation where Cam Newton's under a ton of pressure, which he usually is anyway, that probably bodes better for CMC, honestly.
For all those targets, for all the checkdowns that
But I could see this kind of this could keep the offense off schedule though and cause some other issues. This is probably a situation where just everyone takes a slight ding on that offense.
We'll have to see.
Yeah,
It's hard to know right now.
we'll watch it in preseason, which
right.
starts Thursday.
Yep. And then we also generally don't do major news stories for defenses, but this is a big enough one that we're going to cover it anyway.
Verrett.
Adam Schefter confirms Jason Verrett is done for the season with a torn Achilles, who is one of the big cornerback trios and one of our favorite defenses this year.
God, the Chargers are... Fuck, it's going on.
Oh, they also lost one of their backup tight ends to an
Yeah, they
ACL tear
did.
today.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so Verrett hasn't played a ton over the last couple of seasons, so I don't know that it necessarily dings this defense super hard just because they do have depth at corner.
But one of the things people
And
were
depth in
excited
the
about was
secondary.
having him with Hayward
and Derwin
and James.
James, yes, and Derwin James. So, I mean, it's something to be excited about, but the thing to keep in mind is the Chargers defense was definitely fantasy viable last year. The front seven is still insane. Hayward's still an interception machine. James is going to help that. It really, especially with Verrett consistently missing time. I think I saw the note that he's played a full season over the last 5 years.
Yeah, he's been
As in combined.
he constantly
So-
gets hurt.
So
On the one, this just takes the luster off the defense just a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
It turns it from a diamond to I see a chip in it.
it's a lower quality diamond.
All right, let's get to the main segment: tight end rankings.
Rankings.
Guys, it just feels so good.
All right,
It gives me life when I have
And-
none.
I did the same thing I did in the previous episodes. I tiered them based on kind of where they were in average ranking. I almost wanted to split up tier 1 though, because I think we probably all agree that there is a gap between at least the first 2 guys and the third guy.
I have Gronk and Kelsey as in one tier, and then Ertz and by himself on his own.
Yeah. Do you have the same Hopper?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll talk about this as one tier, but Ertz is going to be lower than the other 2. But starting it off, number 1 is Rob Gronkowski. Is the Edelman suspension a big part of why he's up? Is it Mahomes being part of the possibly some growing pains? Why
Mahomes?
in Kansas City for Kelsey?
for
Like
Kelsey.
We're doing a
Kelsey-wise?
comparative.
we
We're doing
had-
a comparative thing
Yeah.
here.
My bad.
we were universal that Gronk was 1. So I'm kind of
Yes.
trying to get why were we higher on him than Kelsey?
Well, the Edelman thing, the fact that New England's wide receiver core is just kind of a mess of pretty good, but nothing. I mean, there's no clear cut one there, for example. There's no clear cut guy that's going to take a ton of targets there. It's going to be spread out. And Gronk's kind of the one sure thing that you have as long as he's healthy. I also think that the combination of, a second year quarterback who's getting his first real meaningful starts, and the addition of Sammy Watkins with Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt also there's just generally going to be more mouths to feed in Kansas City, which is weird to say, but more people that demand targets versus New England, where you've got a lot of role players in the wide receiver core, not stars.
Yeah, Gronk's a wide receiver 1 when he plays a full 16-game season. Kelsey could flirt with that, but when you bring in Watkins, who was a fantastic red zone threat last year for the Rams, I believe he caught all 7 of his his end zone targets for touchdowns. So it's always going to be Gronk up here. I mean, there's a slight concern for his durability, but there is every year, and like Gronk, Kelsey, and Ertz all have that. That slight concern. So
he'll miss 2 games, and he'll still be the tight end one by 20 plus points. And
exactly.
Yeah, I think the only concern is if he misses more than 1 or 2 games. But if he plays 14 or 15, he's going to crush it.
And you can't predict that. So.
No. And on a per game, and it's a weekly game, and on a per game basis, I want Gronk over anybody else. In my starting lineup.
And if I have to stream somebody for a game or 2 because he gets hurt, that's doable. You can find a good matchup someplace.
All right. So Travis Kelce coming in at number 2. We've already covered him a little bit here. How concerned are we about some of the offensive changes?
I'm not that concerned because I just expect more volume in terms of attempts with Mahomes, with the bad defense that Kansas City will probably have this year. They'll be behind. They'll have to throw. Mahomes loves to just rocket the ball around, and Kelce just kind of gives them that over the middle, down the seam, and red zone threat that he should be fine in.
Do you expect some touchdown regression from him this year?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Okay, because previous high before last year was 5 touchdowns. Last year he had 8.
Yeah,
it's like Ertz. It's I expect a little bit, just mainly because of Watkins. So for me,
it's touchdown regression. I still think that he'll get his targets though, and like you said, there's going to be a high throw volume. So and they're going to need to move the ball, and Kelsey's going to do it, and he can also work downfield, which plays into Mahomes' games. But he's also really going to be the only guy working underneath, I would think. So.
I mean, maybe he has a couple of quiet weeks. I mean, we saw it early on last year with him and Hill kind of flirting back and forth with when they go off.
No, I thought it was him and Hunt.
It was him, and Hunt was great the first, I think, 6 weeks of the season. Like, he was fantastic.
Or no, I remember what it was. It was only 2.
It was Hill and Kelsey.
Only 2 of the 3.
Only 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
One of them was always going to give you a dud, but it was only 2 of the 3 that would perform.
Yep.
And with 4 of them there now, it's probably going to be 2, maybe 3 of the 4 perform on a week.
Yeah. So there might be a little bit of maybe some headaches, but not much.
And then Ertz, is this kind of similar to some of the other players we projected, where there's going to be some concerns about just the efficiency of that offense taking a little bit of a step back this year?
I don't know that. I mean, touchdown wise, maybe a little bit, but I don't know the offense is necessarily going to take a step back. I think it's just more of again, it's a volume thing, and the fact that he's probably going to miss a game or 2 because he always seems to be beat up. But then, Corey Clement is owed a target increase. I mean, he's owed more work. Darren Sproles is back. Alshon Jeffrey started to build some good chemistry last year, even though he was getting healthy targets. Nelson Aguilar probably earned a little bit of a target bump with his performance. So it's just a matter of, is the same volume going to be there for Ertz, or is it going to regress a little bit that way? And I do expect some scoring regression for a little bit from the Eagles, just because touchdown rate's not sustainable with what Wentz was throwing. But
so similar to Kelsey, he had a career high of 4 previously. Yeah. Now he was 8 last year.
But Trey Burton and Brent Selleck being gone also probably helps that some.
Yeah, so they didn't really see the field much with them healthy, but
most of
Burton vultured a couple touchdowns.
He did, yeah.
Okay. So that will help. I mean, it may not, but when we expect that Wentz will have some sort of touchdown regress, and you got to project it all across the board from that way.
Yep.
All right. Well, anything else you want to touch on for the big 3 and tier 1?
No.
All right. This is where it starts to get kind of fun and interesting. Tier 2. Our number 4 guy is the guy who just got paid, Delaney Walker. He's quietly been a top 6 tight end for 4 straight seasons. He tends to be slept on every single year. We have him at 4. Is there any concerns about that ranking?
No, none for me. I mean, he's seen 120 plus targets, I think, the last however many seasons. I've got it on here someplace.
I think 3 straight or 4 straight.
4
over
straight.
100. I know that
4 straight. Mariota loves to use his tight ends also, and I mean, outside of Corey Davis, Rashard Matthews is an okay wide receiver. But and Taywan Taylor's flashed, but I think Delaney Walker is still probably the preferred receiving option here on a team that's going to try to run the ball a decent amount also. So
I mean, they want to be more balanced. They're getting away from this exotic smash mouth type of thing. They bring in Deion Lewis, which may take some work. I mean, there's very little concern from me, but like if you want to find some, is maybe there's just not enough targets to go around where he loses some of that consistency. But I still love Walker,
and I still think it's a net attrition in targets because you bring in Lewis, but he's replacing DeMarco Murray. And, I don't know that he even necessarily commands the same volume that Murray did. So
maybe, from a target standpoint, I think he would. But like I said, it's supposed to be more of an uptick in the passing game, so that kind of evens that out anyways.
Yeah, I was more or less saying that Dion Lewis doesn't have any bearing on what I think Walker's going to get because I just think that he gets level Murray at best. So, you're not really taking anything away from Walker in that scenario. You're just kind of removing one piece and plugging a different one in.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would take anything away from Walker would be either if Jono Smith does straight up break out this year, or if Davis just turns into a target monster.
That's the big thing. Is Davis is probably there.
That's the concern.
If he takes that next big step,
where he's suddenly 150, 160
or a guy like
target
Taywan
guy.
Taylor kind of rises too because he plays the slide and will play over the middle a lot as well.
Yep.
Yeah, those would be it'd be somebody breaking out and demanding that targets be taken away from him.
You can't just guess that.
Yep. But as the offense is scripted now, I still have a lot of faith in Walker. And worst case scenario is still going to be like tight end 6 or 7.
Yeah.
All right. Greg Olson comes in at number 5. Are we concerned at all about the foot, which we've seen guys take multiple years to kind of return to form from?
I'm not. I was last year, but then it went back to it and said, hey, we went back. They said, hey, you're good to go. He didn't take a job in the broadcast booth, which if it was still bothering him, he could have easily just retired, went and did TV and been done with it. And you haven't heard any real negative news on him coming out of training camp or anything like that. So I expect a return to form for Greg Olson, honestly, at least to a certain degree. I mean, DJ Moore being there, Christian McCaffrey being there, you've got to plan on some target regression versus the last time he was healthy, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, and just like with Kelsey here, or just like with any of these tight ends besides maybe Gronk, you may get some dud weeks from him just because Cam likes to kind of find a guy for that game, and then he kind of focuses on that as well. Funches will take a lot of the over the middle stuff, the emergence of DJ Moore, if that happens, and then CMC will command at least 80 plus.
All right, and then from 2014 to 2016, he saw over 120 targets. Do you think he sees that type of volume this year?
No, I got him closer to 110.
Okay.
So I did fade him a little bit on the target front just because I think that you do have more mouths there. And Cam Newton's never been a high-volume passer, so I don't see a situation where the offense overall is throwing a lot more. So you've got to kind of slide everybody back a little bit. So I slid him back some. I slid CMC back some to accommodate for that.
All right. Then we got number 6, Kyle Rudolph paired with Kirk Cousins. Is this something we're excited about, or is there enough other weapons here that he may not have to focus tight end as nearly as much as he did in Washington?
Well, Kurt loves to pass the ball around. We saw that in Washington. Jordan Reed was one of his best targets to throw to. Rudolph is great, but he's got to compete with Diggs. You got to compete with Thielen, and then Cook out of the backfield. It's just he's not a high volume guy.
So I looked
into
a
touchdown guy.
Cousins has averaged 120.8 targets to his tight ends over the last 5 seasons. That includes when Garcon and Deshaun Jackson were in town. So
Diggs and Thielen, I think, are better than Garcon.
I do too, but they're still both gonna pull over 100 targets, and so do those other guys. And that's the comparison. It's not a player talent thing; it's a how often are they targeting them thing. And Cousins has shown that he can give his outside wide receivers, 160 and 120 targets and still give the tight end 120. Do I think that means Rudolph is going to have 120? Nah, probably closer to 100. But
I think he's done that once too in his career.
Yeah, it was the Bradford year. He had 132 targets.
Yeah. It was, but different scheme, different quarterback. I mean, you look at what you guys are running out for quarterbacks before then. Okay, Brett Favre, but
I know
the shell of Brett Favre, and then you guys haven't really had anything else that's been high volume passing.
Well, he never played with Favre.
Yeah, so that's what Blaine Gabbert,
Christian Ponder.
Sorry, but
wrong bust from that draft class.
Yeah, wrong bust. But Christian Ponder, and then you bring in Sam Bradford, where he had the one good season. Case Keenum, who
6 straight years of different starters.
Yeah, used his outside receivers, and then Teddy Bridgewater, who did a lot with his legs. So it's going to be Kirk Cousins isn't your mobile athletic quarterback, so it's going to be a lot more passing, and I think it's definitely a boost to Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, my only concern for him is just looking at his yearly breakdowns. He does not average a ton of yardage.
No, he doesn't.
He's almost strictly touchdown based, so you got to kind of hope that he's 7+ touchdowns to make him pay off for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually got it projecting him at 92 targets. I overestimated that a little bit. 670 yards. So
Yeah, I've got him in the
very
high
happy to see that from him.
I got him at like 88 and I think like 570 yards and 7 touchdowns.
So same ballpark.
All right. And the last guy in this tier is Jimmy Graham, who we were a little bit more split on. I think there's some reason to be optimistic about him and some reason to be concerned about him as well. Dan, you are the highest on him.
Well, I know. I haven't dropped him. I haven't really dropped much when it comes to that. I like this move. I know that the whole Rodgers doesn't use tight ends. I get that. Graham's the best tight end he's had and will have probably. I thought he was underutilized in Seattle. I thought they should have used him a lot more outside the 20s. Who knows if that happens? Yes, and yes, we don't like to predict touchdowns here, but I love his upside, and I guess out of the top 3, if I can try to grab that, especially a guy who's going as the tight end 6 or 7, I get excited.
Well, no, he's actually usually going as the 4 or 5.
Is he the 4 or 5 now? Okay, well,
I was more lukewarm on Jimmy Graham, and then I deep dove it. And here's what I found. When you subtract Richard Rodgers and tight end 1 injuries, basically, so looking at seasons where there's a healthy tight end 1, basically, 69 targets a season average. However, Jermichael Finley was Aaron Rodgers' kind of last real stud-ish tight end.
Yep.
And he averaged 83 targets with Aaron Rodgers there. So there is some volume there. They've got no good option currently at wide receiver 3. Geronimo Allison's getting a ton of hype right now. I don't buy into that. So he should be that, especially in the red zone. Jordy vacated 28% of the red zone target share from 2016.
Yep.
Like that's what Jordy got targeted with. So Graham, I think, is going to be a monster in the red zone. And Martellus Bennett saw 5.8 targets a game pre-Aaron Rodgers injury. So there you go. Which is on pace for
there's a lot of optimism there.
On pace for 96. Yeah. So there's a lot of things to be excited about there.
Yeah. So to put the kind of cold water on it, as comparison, I do think he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. My concern is how many weeks is he just going to hose you because he doesn't score a touchdown that week? Because as we saw last season, he doesn't seem to move very well in between the 20s anymore, and almost all of his production came in the red zone.
Like for me, it's just Rodgers throws people open. That's the biggest thing.
Does.
And like for Graham's wise, I think he'll get more usage outside the 20. I think he is the third option outside the 20s. He's, I think, 1A, 1B inside the red zone.
He wasn't getting targeted a ton.
Yeah. And that was concerning, and I have that concerns with there too. That's why he's not a 3 or higher for me.
For me, it's just I wonder how much of that was the offense and, Doug Baldwin working kind of also over the middle in the same role. Whereas, I guess you kind of have that same concern with Randall Cobb.
And Montgomery.
Less so.
So I just have some concerns with that. I'm just a little bit more hesitant to get real excited for Graham after he started looking kind of old last year, and I'm worried that he may not have it anymore. So this is me saying I'd rather pull out a year too early than a year too late.
Well, I'm stuck with him because I couldn't move him, so I'm hoping for the best.
I'd be happy with him, especially for this year.
And then tier 3, our rookie breakout from 2017, Evan Ingram, all by himself.
He's going to regress.
A lot, I think.
A lot. The target volume is not going to be there. He was a beneficiary of the Brandon LaFell rule last year when everybody got hurt. And now you're going to have Sterling Shepard healthy, Odell healthy, Barkley's coming in, who's going to command a lot more targets than the running backs did. Volume's just not going to be there for Evan Ingram. I think that he's still incredibly talented. I think he's a great move tight end. I think if somebody gets hurt, then he automatically jumps up a tier. But for right now, it's just too many miles.
I mean, you saw last year with Rudolph, with their new head coach there. I'm Shermer there. Rudolph was really he had to score a touchdown for him to be a viable guy. He'd get 6, 7, 8 targets a game, 4 or 5 receptions for 30-some yards, and you hope for a touchdown. Otherwise, you're kind of fucked. I think that's what you're going to get from Evan Ingram this year. I think it's going to be a little, maybe like Eric Ebron-ish type of thing, where he's not going to get the volume to support it because his production premium was like -15. It's bad.
Moved him around a bit when I did the actual rankings, but just based on stats projections, he projected as my tight end 13.
Yeah, he projected as my 11, so similar.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to one thing I will say, his ADP is starting to fall kind of in line with kind of what people are saying that he'll regress. He's not going as like the tight end 5 anymore off the board.
Good.
He shouldn't be.
He shouldn't be.
If he's going more towards the back end of the draft, I think that's more where he belongs.
Yeah, he's going. I mean, he's generally going like tight end 6 through 9 now, which is more the range he should be.
Better, but still not there.
All right, tier 4, number 9, George Kittle, who Hopper, I do think you're a little too high on.
I love George Kittle.
We all do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought about
Hold on.
moving him up too.
Hold on.
Don't get me wrong. I thought about moving him
I
up.
don't even remember where I actually ended up putting him.
you got him at like 8.
Oh, I don't think that's too high.
I definitely do.
I'm at 10. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, when it comes to when you get into that tier tight end, you're kind of playing with fire a little bit, and I think George Kittle is a little bit safer. He saw about 4 targets a game with Jimmy G starting, which I think that's going to be due an increase. 81% catch rate over that time, though. Once you factor out what Blaine Gabbert did, which not Blaine Gabbert, CJ Beathard and Brian Hoyer, and he was beat up last year, so. He had 16 red zone targets, 6 end zone targets. That was more than any receiver they had. They didn't do anything to add a red zone threat there. Even Garcon coming back, that's not a red zone threat. So I think he's going to get a decent amount of work down there, but I also think that he gets more work kind of in between the 20s there. So,
Any concern about a healthy Garcon to his target volume?
not really, just because you get a full year of Jimmy Garoppolo also. So I think that he's still due an increase over that 4 targets a game.
And you're taking him in what, the 10th, 11th round, I think is this is ADP. I'm like, you're not drafting him just to be your only tight end. You want to pair him up with somebody. For all these tight ends right now, you maybe even including Evan Ingram, you want to pair him up with somebody.
You're hunting upside there,
Yes.
basically. And the difference between George Kittle and, say, a Trey Burton is that Trey Burton has 2 threats, 2 targets there, one of them being another very good rookie tight end out of last year's class, whereas George Kittle, less so.
Kittle is going in the 10th round as the 11th tight end off the board.
I will take that all
That's
day.
completely fine with me.
All right. Number 10, Jordan Reed.
Rule 86.
Swing for the fences because
Swing for the fence.
That's what you're doing there, yeah. And again, it's in that same tier of tight ends where you're looking for something. So Jordan Reed is a little bit safer of a fence swing than Tyler Eifert is.
He said he feels 100% better than last year.
He barely played last year. So
Exactly.
I hope.
We all hope.
And that's until he actually plays a game and then hurts himself 3 weeks in.
But yeah, in my projections, he came out as like my tight end 5 on a points per game.
He doesn't
basis.
lose anything from Cousins to Smith. Smith uses shit out of Kelsey. They're going to get him involved in this offense. He's one of the top, if not their top target to get the ball to.
Yeah, him or Crowder.
So let's put it this way. He projected as my tight end 10, and I didn't do per game basis. I did overall points. And I only projected him to play 11 games.
So, yeah.
Because of his track record. So
he's healthy.
If he's healthy, he's up in that top tier still. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that. So if you're trying to swing for the fences at that point in your draft, Jordan Reed's a good grab.
Yeah, if I miss on the top 7, 8 guys, I'm probably just going to grab Reed.
Again, you want to draft him with somebody, but this is a guy that if you can stay healthy, especially towards the end of the season, you can win you some leagues.
It's just a matter of the fact
Or
that
some weeks. Excuse me.
he's not regressing on field.
Nope.
So
All right. And
He
then
just has to get on there.
the number 11, a guy that we've definitely started to fade here, and I think a lot of other people are too, Trey Burton. I think some people are getting a little less excited about him now.
as they should be. Just there's concerns with Trey Burton, and it's one you've got to. There's a lot of things that have to go right. The offense first off has to click and take that step forward. Adam Shaheen has to stay off the field, which I don't think happens. He's a better blocker. Even if they use 2 tight end sets, he's still going to take some target volume. You didn't draft him last year to sit on the bench. Allen Robinson, they brought him in. You got Anthony Miller, who is standing out in camp by
His videos give me
everything.
That hype train is going to start getting back into
Good.
gear.
It should.
Yep.
Pump that shit up.
Tariq Cohen is going to command target increases. You got Kevin White, who will be healthy for at least 3 games, probably. So
I was going to say at least 3 snaps, probably.
yeah, at least 3 snaps. But the thing with Trey Burton is he fits kind of in the same mold. Like he's just another one you're throwing down on this tier that you want to take towards the end of the draft, not as early as the hype was putting him. And it's just because a lot of things have to go right in Chicago for Trey Burton to be what I think a lot of people thought Trey Burton would be when he landed there.
Yep. And
I want to hear if they can try to move him because he's an ex receiver. So maybe they try to move him inside. So maybe you see a lot more Shaheen Burton, but not in that traditional 2 tight end type of set where you have, a 12 personnel out there with them.
So you're talking about actually having just
Yeah,
a
so
slot
like
receiver.
Slot out.
Just like Evan Ingram was for the Giants last year. Maybe you use him as a true traditional move tight end.
Okay, then.
Oh, no, I'm saying, like, I just want to see that.
No,
I hear that,
I agree. The concern to me still is, though, you can't run, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs.
Yeah, I know.
3 wide receivers all the time, so you're still...
He's not getting
We're getting-
much many
Yeah.
snaps as you'd hope.
We all got super excited, with all this news, and I think we're all starting to come back down to earth. And the fact that just, like, yes, the Rams did it last year. It doesn't mean the Bears will do it this year in terms of what the Rams are able to put together.
Yeah,
My
In terms of volume.
I've definitely been more cautious on the Bears
Yeah.
since projecting them out.
Yeah, because for every talented piece the Bears have that you want to perform, they have a lot of talented
Yes.
pieces that you
There's-
want to perform, and that offense, it's still a second-year quarterback that's got to take a huge step. So I think that it's probably a better NFL offense than it is for fantasy.
Could very well
I
be.
could definitely
And also,
see
I
that.
could expect a lot of growing pains.
Which, yeah, I could too. Is people are going to have to kind of find rules, carve out rules. You're going to have a lot of rotating personnel. All the reports out of camp are good, but yeah.
Yeah, they're also just playing themselves, too. We're not... Well, it'll be interesting to see how game 2 and
It's a
game 3...
strong defense. I am way more like hyped up about the Bears' offense performing against their defense than what Andrew Luck did today.
This is true. All right. Tier 5, and we'll get to a beer review. Number 12, Jack Doyle.
Oh, I love me some Jack Doyle.
I want to love Jack Doyle. Unfortunately, I can't ignore Eric Ebron as much as I want to. I want him to just go the fuck away.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Sorry, buddy.
But the good news is that the Colts should be able to use both tight ends because that's at T.Y. Hilton. Their wide receiving core is hot garbage.
Yes. Deion Kane, Chester Rogers, Ryan
Well, Kane's
Grant,
been flashing a shit
Krishan
ton,
Hogan.
apparently.
Krishan
Don't
Hogan,
forget
and
Krishan-
Darius Fountain.
And Darius Fountain.
Yep.
All guys fighting to be a wide receiver 2 who might end up being 5th in targets.
Right. Their second and third best options right now are the 2 tight ends.
And then their 4th best option is
Whatever
Hines.
running backs in the backfield. Yeah. Hines or
Hines.
Mack. So there you go with that. Jack Doyle, not going to see the same volume, but I think he's still viable in this tier in the same, really in the same light that Trey Burton is.
I wouldn't be shocked if he's seen similar volume just because the offense is going to be so much better with a healthy Luck.
That's also true.
Yeah, the
Loves
total
to
passing
use-
volume was way down last year. So,
Oh, yeah.
so he could see a much lower target percent, but
Right.
still see a similar volume.
Yeah.
He's also not a touchdown guy. So, I mean, like in terms of what we could see, he can be a great tight end outside the 20s, where in PPR leagues, he's going to help win you some weeks because he'll get 8 receptions for 60 yards.
So I did some looking into Frank Reich, and here's how his tight ends have split up.
Okay.
19% target share versus 9%, 1 and 2. That was with Zach Ertz, Trey Burton, and then Brent Selleck also there, with no receiving back. It was 17% versus 12% for Ertz, Burton, and Selleck with Sproles there, so they had a receiving back. And then same type of thing in Los Angeles or San Diego at the time when they had a receiving back. It was 14% to the tight end 1, 10% to the tight end 2. That was Antonio Gates and Ladarius Green, and then they had Danny Woodhead that year. So probably going to be a lighter version of that 17% versus 12%, and Sproles being 100 target back in Philadelphia. So I could see 17% going to Doyle, 12% going to Ebron.
17% of about 600-ish pass attempts puts
that
him right around
defense is
100.
so bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's actually going to be plenty to go left for Ebron, but we'll get to him in after the beer review. Before that, though, David Njoku at 13.
David Njoku.
All upside.
All upside indeed.
Because I think he's going to lead the team in red zone targets and end zone targets. Like, Landry isn't a red zone guy. I mean, he did it last year. He's going to play outside, so there is some of that. Josh Gordon, hopefully he's fine, but you can't ignore Njoku's upside from an athletic standpoint
Gordon's
either.
more of a field stretcher too.
Yeah, like we all expect this offense to get better this year.
Yep. And also just notes on the quarterbacks. Charles Clay's career low with Tyrod Taylor was 74 targets, and that was while missing games. He was on a 5.7 target per game pace. So Tyrod will target his tight ends. And if it's Baker Mayfield starting, you and I have talked about this.
See Mark Andrews.
See Mark Andrews.
I mean, granted, they didn't have the outside threats, but still, see Mark Andrews. I mean, Njoku's, like I said, it's all upside here because as Nick will probably get to, the volume is going to be pretty meh some weeks.
Yeah, that's my concern with him is just volume being an issue with, as mentioned, Buffalo has not had these type of targets outside of Charles Clay.
That's very true.
And if it was an issue where he was throwing to Clay because there were no better
You
options.
also had Sammy Watkins there, and he was able to put up some of these numbers with Watkins and Woods. I know Woods didn't break out until the Rams, but Woods was still there.
And Goodwin was there too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, yes, there's going to be less volume in terms of that. That's why you're not drafting them as a top 8 round.
My what the Buffalo Bills receiving core could be if they'd held on to some people.
That's true. And he's going in the 12th round. There's just a couple guys I'm eyeing a little later that if I'm going to take a kind of dart throw on them, I actually have a little more faith in their target volume. But we'll get to them after the beer review. He's a possible home run swing type guy.
Yes.
Because the talent is definitely there. It's just I'm not sure the volume is going to be there with Taylor passing.
And he did well with his volume last year.
He did.
Yeah, he's efficient with his targets. That's not a concern.
The other thing also is you got to remember Cleveland's got a good defense, which doesn't help the offensive pass volume either.
As long as they can get that secondary right, which they used a 4th overall pick to bring in Derwin James and try to fix that.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward, sorry. That was wrong secondary player.
Still. And then, Peppers last year, and then 2 solid cornerbacks and a front 7 that's a little scary.
And then they brought over the Packers cornerback who they converted to safety to plug that hole too.
Yeah,
Randall.
Demarius Randall, yeah. So yeah, that's enough for tier 5. Let's do a beer review.
Beer review.
What do you guys think of Mechanics Grove's Maibock Lager from Tighthead Brewing Company?
It's so you got some roastiness on the notes, definitely from the malt there. It's really sweet up front to me. Definitely some molasses taste to it, and then it finishes kind of nutty, but really crisp, really smooth, really easy to drink. Been nursing a hangover all day, and I'm still 3/4 of the way through this, so that's good news.
It's got a light medium body to it. It's not gonna kick you. It's got some of that citrus in there to kind of give it that bring out some life to me for it. It's good. I can definitely keep drinking it, but it's also 6.7%, so you probably don't want to have more than a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's not absurdly strong. It's just solid.
But after a night of drinking, as Hopper alluded to, sometimes you don't want to bound them.
Yeah. But for 6.7%, very sessionable. More flavor than you get out of a standard lager. So I like that a lot. If you're looking for something, this would be a good transition type beer if you're looking for something a little bit more complex than your standard domestics, but it's not too out there like an IPA or something like that.
This is a great beer to start with if you're moving from your Coors Lights, your fucking piss water to, and even like wheat beers if you want to kind of transition away from.
It's got a really good flavor profile. It's like
does.
A Bock and an ale had a love child.
Yeah, and just that lager style where it's very drinkable and doesn't have a ton of overly complex things going on with it, just some real solid flavor to it.
Yep.
As Dan would say, it's good.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tighthead, for coming on the show. Let's go ahead and jump into tier 6, which this is effectively the streaming tier. These are all the guys that if you're saying, I want to grab somebody for the first couple of weeks.
Fuck it.
I want it. And these are all guys who should probably write down that we need to do a scheduled deep dive on all these players.
That's a big tier.
But these guys all have question marks or concerns, but they also have some upside where they could possibly be tight end ones. Starting it off at 14 is the aforementioned Charles Clay.
Brandon LaFleur rule.
I think he may be the best target in Buffalo.
Especially if Zay Jones isn't ready to go by the time the season starts. And I know he didn't produce last year, but I mean it's Kelvin Benjamin and Charles Clay right now, and you got to invoke the LaFleur rule on both because they're going to be playing from behind.
And the rumors right now is Josh Allen's going to win this starting job. So
I hope not, because after watching that one highlight where he completely whiffed on a wide open running back on a design play, it just doesn't give me life.
You got to be scared that there's absolutely no McCarron hype. And then you had some Peterman hype earlier in the season, and then now you've got Josh Allen hype, accompanied with the video of him completely missing a running back.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we'll see how this goes. But
I want to hear about your Austin Hooper because I want to hear how you got to his 83 targets.
Yeah.
Because that was like, damn.
So I was breaking down the offense. I didn't have him at 83. I had him at 72.
I got him at 71,
Or-
so that's
No,
right.
I'm sorry, 83. I was looking at the
That
wrong.
was 83.
I was looking at the wrong Austin.
I got him at 71.
But yeah, there seems to be some targets that are going to the tight ends. They got rid of Levine Toilolo. There's nobody else there. And they don't really have another true red zone target right now. And they do throw some to the tight ends.
Now they're going to use Julio in the red zone more.
Yeah, I've been hearing that for half a decade now.
That was the joke.
So yeah, this was strictly, I basically the way he projected out is like, I think this is probably his ceiling.
So you have no fear for Ridley. Sanu will come in. Coleman and Freeman will still come in. It's like for me, it's just where does he land? Where does he land on that? On that target totem pole with the same offense from last year?
I've got him just a little bit behind Ridley
Okay.
and Sanu in targets, but not by much.
Okay.
Yeah, and Levine Toilolo, I mean, there was only 15 targets. So, but
Hey, a targeted game helps. And also his touchdown rate was atrocious last year.
it was, and he does separate pretty well. So, but yeah, I've got him falling. I think I've got him like right with Ridley as far as targets go. And then, Sanu above that and Jones way above that.
But yeah, he's shown decent playmaking ability. He had a couple big plays last year, including that week 1 play where we thought, oh man, is Austin Hooper going to break out and then vanish for most of the rest of the season?
That's why he's a streamer, because he's not going to give you a dud, but he's not necessarily.
Yeah.
But for me, like you called last year a breakout. I'm not going to call a breakout for Austin Hooper. I'm just going to call that if I'm in desperate need of a tight end for a week, then I'll take Austin Hooper, but I'm not drafting him.
No.
Well, it depends how deep the league is and what type of scoring system you're using, but I don't mind Hooper as a second tight end stash.
Mean, always, but I'm not gonna. There's other people that I would.
I'm just glad you don't have to draft him.
Than
Yeah.
Austin Hooper.
Yeah, I'm just glad you don't have to draft him.
Yeah, he is currently not being drafted. So this is strictly I missed tight ends. Everybody I like is gone. Fuck it. I'll try this because there should be some volume there.
There's at least 2 other breakout prospects I like more that I would stash.
Yeah.
All right. Number 16, Eric Ebron.
I mean, he's my 17, so
I covered him when we talked about Jack Doyle and how I expect that split to go. So some decent volume if you're in a 2 tight end league. Doyle's established, so it's going to be really hard for Ebron to, barring an injury, to come out and take that job outright. So that caps his upside a bit, and he can't stay healthy to save his life. So there's that.
What?
Ebron?
I don't think he's had issues staying healthy, has he?
Well, while you look that up, for me, there's a lot of upside in this.
A lot of soft tissue stuff.
Maybe
Well, he played 16 last year. He's 13, 14, 13 the years before
That's
that.
what it was.
Okay.
Was the years before. So
like I said, he's got a lot of upside in this offense. Third best for sure, if not, athletically gifted. We'll say that.
And he has a shot at the second.
We've seen a lot of tight ends do well when they've changed teams, especially their second team. The Colts bought into him, so there's that. Luck has been able to support 1 to 2 tight ends easily. And if Doyle gets hurt, as Hopper said, there's going to be a huge upside then. But we've fallen into this trap every fucking year with Ebron. Every single year.
It's definitely a risk. I'm not saying there's nothing there, but he projected very well for me when I threw the numbers together and not even having to give him a very large share of targets.
yeah.
His efficiency metrics actually aren't that bad. I just don't think, as far as I can tell, it looks like Detroit doesn't support a tight end 1 properly.
Yeah.
So going to an offense where they have supported 2, I kind of like what I see there out of his numbers, and what I think he can do for that team is effectively, I think he's going to end up being the wide receiver
He'll
2.
be the best number 2 tight end they've had. Better than Dwayne Allen was with Colby Fleener, better than Jack Doyle was. I think it's 1 or 2 years with Dwayne Allen. So, I mean, there's a lot of upside. That's why it's we may hate on him, but it's still a good dart throw.
I hate on him.
I know. I mean, I do too.
I've got to counteract the truther in the room.
Somebody does.
I wasn't expecting him to project as high as he did when I ran through the numbers,
Yeah.
so he came up way higher than I was expecting. All right, Ben Watson, 17.
Ben Watson's pretty intriguing to me, making a return to New Orleans where he had his breakout season. They tried to get Kobe Fleener involved. They couldn't. And For me, Ben Watson's got upside, especially if Drew Brees does bounce back. But if you've been listening to the show for any portion of the last 2 months, you know where I stand on the New Orleans offense, and that's that I don't think last year's a fluke. I think it's more of what this team is now doing, centered around the running game and with a strong defense, that's going to cut into Drew Brees a little bit. Now, better receiving options and stuff like that, it may positively regress slightly, but I don't expect a full-on bounce back. So, and to me, that hurts the offense across the board, tight end included. So, but he is returning to an offense he's familiar with in a place where he's produced before, so you can't turn a blind eye to that.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of Popper. We've had these conversations about this. So I mean, it's like I see a lot of the upside there, but I also see you added Traquan Smith, you're adding in I can't remember Meredith. Ted Ginn is still there.
Still a thing.
So there may not be those great weeks, but like I said, this is your dart throw territory, and Watson could definitely win you some weeks this year.
So the way it projected out for me is Watson was almost strictly a touchdown guy. I just don't see a lot of between the 20s volume for him.
Most times are.
With what I projected the volume to be for Meredith, Smith, and Ginn up behind Michael Thomas. I also predicted a touchdown bounce back for Thomas as well. So I don't know that there's a ton of volume to go around for him. I've got him actually at 25 just because I don't see a ton of upside here. Maybe a week-to-week streamer at best.
Then that's how I see him.
Again, there's other guys that are considerably younger on teams with more opportunity that I would rather take.
Yeah. All right. A younger guy who don't think makes your list for this category is OJ Howard.
He does not. And that's a Cameron Brate thing for me. You want to talk resident truthers. I'm definitely a resident Cameron Brate truther. However, it also doesn't help that Jameis Winston's gone the first couple of weeks either. We saw tight ends just kind of fall off the map when Fitzpatrick was playing last year. As far as the split, Cameron Brate had a slight edge in targets per game by about half a target. 19 routes per game for Brate over the last 4, whereas Howard ran 8.6 routes over that same stretch. As far as target shares, Brate had a slight edge in both regular and end zone target shares. But they were both close enough to where I just think this is going to be pretty split. Those target share numbers, by the way, was 8% for Howard, 12.9 for Brate. And then in the end zone, it was 12.5 to Howard, 14.3 for Brate. So it's just going to be split to me. And they just paid Brate. So especially this season, I don't want to dart throw either of them. I've got Cameron Brate as a safety net in a couple leagues where tight end premiums exist, or you have to start more than one. Or I just happen to own him going into the season and I can't really move him right now. But I don't necessarily love either guy.
No, it's going to be a lot of split right down the middle for a lot of things. Shares and all across the board for targets. Both were highly productive with their volume last year. Problem is you can't predict it. And Howard would get 3-4 targets a game. He catch 2-3 of them, and then some of those went for huge gains.
It was 3.75 and 3.25 targets per game when you put them side by side.
I got these guys 2 spots apart, and I have Howard just slightly higher because I think he could do a little bit more without Winston for those first 3 games. But on even playing ground, they're fucking 1A, 1B, if that.
So the reason I put Howard quite a bit higher than I put Brate is just if I think one of these two is going to be able to break out and just demand targets, I think it is going to be Howard, especially with the efficiency numbers that he put forward last year. He's over 16.5 yards a catch. His touchdown rate was 15%, which is just absurd. I don't even expect him to come close to that this year. But even if it's a 7 or 8% touchdown rate, that's enough to get you fantasy relevant production.
So when we talk about breakouts, here would be my counter argument to that. Does Brate need to break out given what he did 2 years ago and what he did to start last year? I mean, he's already broken out.
It was almost strictly off red zone production, though. I mean, he was really not doing much between the 20s.
He's still getting the edge, though.
A lot of it is a lot of mouths to feed. This defense is going to be bad. This is going to be a bad defense, so there's going to be a lot of throwing, but you got the emergence of Godwin, Watson, the hype train starting there. You got Mike Evans.
Still there.
Jackson will see the field.
Rojo
could be a pass catcher back.
That's really the problem.
Fucking Charles Sims will be a thing.
Guys, is that there's a ton of mouths here.
Yeah. So there's, as I said, this is me painting the potential upside picture, which is kind of where I got him ranked. Is I was starting to look for guys where I see some upside to him, and that's where I started ranking my upside guys in this part of the rankings.
And once we get the break, just insert things here.
All right. Yeah. Still still more upside. Two more upside guys that I would rather have than OJ Howard.
All right. Jared Cook, 19.
Not one of them.
We know what Jared Cook is.
He's a floor guy. He is the definition of weekly streamer. Carr will use him, but he's not gonna. He's never been a big touchdown guy. He's been supposed to break out forever. He's like Eric Ebron before Eric Ebron was a thing.
Yeah, Cook's now in his 30s, and we're still waiting for the breakout.
Right.
He always has 1 or 2 good games a year, but you have no idea when they're coming.
Yep.
Doesn't get targeted in the red zone very much.
Nope.
That may change with Crabtree, but I still expect almost all of that to go to either Cooper or Jordy.
Yep.
So, yeah, not a big Cook fan, but he's productive enough that he's worthwhile to kick the tires on as a desperation streamer type play.
I mean, I've had to pick him up in dynasty leagues because Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
God bless you.
All right. Now Cameron Brate. Anything we want to add here?
No, just insert the OJ Howard conversation and the other half of that.
So if you were looking at the two, I do think Brate is the floor play. So if you're like, maybe it's a really deep
I don't
league.
think there is a floor play for either of them.
Well, that's why I insulate with Cameron Brate is because I think that, especially with Winston there, he traditionally produces more. I think there's more rapport there. So I've insulated a couple places with Cameron Brate.
So, well, with Brate, I for sure don't draft him because I want him after
you won't have to.
Winston's back.
No.
Yeah.
Because Fitzpatrick does not target tight ends at all.
Never.
Tyler Eifert, who we've been slowly sliding here as more bad news comes out about his back.
I won't be shocked if he retires.
He's always been such huge touchdown upside anyway, and not much else. That when he has been healthy, which has been almost never, that I don't really want to invest in that. I've done it in a couple best ball leagues. But that's about the only scenario where I would do that at is like my tight end 3 in best ball leagues.
This is worse Jordan Reed at this point.
Yeah.
So he projected out as my tight end 7 on a points per game basis, but I don't know if he plays any.
You can't rank him there. Yeah, if he plays,
that's still high too.
I projected him for 10 games and he came in as my 17.
That's a massive uptick in that Bengals offense, which I expect to get better.
And it's almost all touchdowns.
Yeah.
All right, tier 7, man by himself, Nick Vannett.
There we go. All right, I've been waiting for this one.
Go ahead, buddy.
Okay, so obviously Jimmy Graham's gone, so you're going to need somebody to take those targets, and what they've added to replace Jimmy Graham is not anything. So the way that my Nick Vannett hype train started is we were doing the division previews, and I looked at that team. And I was like, okay, who's the tight end? And then I looked at Nick Vannett. He was only 24, big body guy, actually really similar in the way he was built to Jimmy Graham, huge catch radius. And I was like, okay, that's got to be the guy. Dixon's never been much of a receiver. Disley's never been or was a blocker in college, and he's coming in as well,
no, he was a defensive tackle to start college. Then he transitioned.
And then he transitioned. So he's never been he's a blocker. So somebody's going to have to be the move tight end here. They brought in Brandon Marshall, who could take some of that if he makes the team. But Nick Vannett is only 20. Like I said, he's only 24. He's very similar in his build to what Jimmy Graham is. 106% catchable target rate is absurd. I don't even know how that happens, but that's thank you, player profiler, I guess.
Yeah.
So
if I remember right, he caught something he wasn't supposed to, and then caught all of his catchable targets.
Yes. So it was really just a dart throw on who's there that could take this. And when you look at the measurables, and he's never really gotten a lot of target volume, but when you look at the measurables, the athletic traits, and just the way that he's built, he's the most likely one to do it.
And for me, it's so I deep dove this, went into it, and I'm like, I don't like as much as I want Nick Vannett to be a thing. It's so hard to know what's going to happen. Dixon's still the starter there for some reason. And then you got, Disley, 4th round pick, brought him in. He's a pure blocking tight end. Vannett's got the upside, and Schottenheimer's offenses have produced tight ends. Dustin Keller was a 100 target guy. Jared Cook, who we just got done talking about, was a 100 target in 2 seasons with the Rams in St. Louis. A lot of upside here, but they drafted Chris Carson. Chris Carson's back. They drafted Rashad Penny. They're going to run ball, I think, a fair bit more in the red zone because they don't have a Jimmy Graham there anymore. But if you're taking a dart throw, it's got to be on Vanette. There's so much upside to him in terms of his measurables.
So this is a absolute preseason watch situation where
Yes.
basically if Dixon wins it, I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
If Vanette's winning the position battle, I'm probably
I'm
gonna start
rooting
taking
for
some
one
dart throws.
person here, and it better be Vanette that wins this job. Then I'll be a lot more excited.
Yeah,
for
we saw
this.
what Dixon can do with the job last year, and it wasn't much.
Exactly.
All right, and last tier that we're going to cover today is tier 8, number 23, Austin Safarian Jenkins, who projected worse than I was kind of hoping he was going
There's
to.
so many reds. I mean,
They
there's
don't-
more red zones.
too many
reds than we think.
bodies.
They don't throw to the tight end. I mean, even with Mercedes Lewis, he was a red zone option, and that's about it. And that's what ASJ is going to be, as a red zone option, and that's probably about it because they're going to try to run the football. They're going to rely on their defense, and Bortles will throw to his wide receivers and Marquise Lee over the middle before he'll throw to his tight end. So
Fucking Keelan Cole will probably have more red zone targets than end zone targets than Austin Safarian Jenkins.
Alan Lazard.
He did it to him last year.
Alan
Alan
Lazard.
Lazard too. 6'5".
Yeah,
We're not
Maybe
gonna
he
stop
plays
that.
tight end.
I'm not stopping that.
Rip Lazard. So I do like ASJ as a home run type swing, where if this offense really started to click, he might see enough red
I
zone
don't even like
volume.
him as a home run swing.
But man, this is starting to get to the point where it gets pretty ugly.
I wouldn't.
He's more like a sacrifice bunt.
He's
and-
more of a
and
guy.
I've got him. Yeah. Well, Hopper really hates him. I've got him at 17, so he's kind of a mid.
like for me,
He's a safety squeeze.
like for me, it's okay. I guess in 2 tight end leagues, sure.
He's I
That's
need
about
to
it.
scream somebody. Well, he might get me a touchdown or two. Throw him in there.
They're playing against the Cardinals, who always seem to do something. Which I
YOLO.
don't think they play them this year. So
YOLO play.
yeah,
All right. Number 24, Mike Gesicki.
I like this more, and there was just some positive camp news
finally
basically about
positive news on him.
about how well he's performing and how well he's got on in the receiving game. So Miami, not necessarily known for their tight end production. They did spend a high round draft pick. He's still my favorite rookie tight end to actually produce something this year. So for whatever that's worth, but rookie tight ends normally don't do a whole lot. So I'm probably not. It's him, Nick Vanette, and Gerald Everett are the 3 dart throws that I would probably take if given the chance.
Oh, well, Everett's way down for. And you're
reason-
really low on Everett.
Yeah. Again,
just
I
a
like the
dart throw.
talent, but Higbee's there too, so it's a dart throw.
Yeah, you got him at 35.
Yeah.
Best thing with Gesicki is right away. I think it was in rookie minicamp. Treble's running the playbook. We had reports before, at least some positive news, that he got beat by every single person out there, and finally we got something. He had a great highlight video of him not making a great one-handed catch. But this is an offense that could have a lot of volume in it, but there is a lot of mouths to feed too here. Drake, you got Parker, Stills, Wilson. He made.
Amendola.
I don't fuck him.
Those aren't people walking into your restaurant for a gourmet meal, though. You're like,
I know.
You're like,
I get- yeah.
You're like giving them a ladle of soup at the soup kitchen, and that's what you got there.
Does he start the season as the number 1 guy there though?
I mean, who else is going to?
Well, if Darby, I don't want to
Derby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to like hype that up, but if he's struggling, he's not going to play,
I'm not gonna hype that up. I will say this
Yeah.
though: Adam Gase's offenses do tend to like tight ends. Thomas had,
which is good.
Julius Thomas 60 and 90 target seasons. Martellus Bennett had an 80 target season with
Yeah,
the
and
Bears.
Thomas did not deserve as many targets as he got last season.
He didn't.
It was gross.
Very
Very gross.
Ryan Tannehill did support 84 targets for Charles Clay, 70 for Jordan Cameron. So
And they were both relevant.
there's potential in this scenario of quarterback and offensive coordinator for a tight end to be relevant.
Yeah, he's got to learn the playbook, though, and he's got to learn how to block. Things that I did not necessarily like in him coming out of college.
That was the other part of the news that came out today, is that his blocking, they've seen improvement with it. So,
Okay. If that
It
continues...
couldn't get much worse.
yeah.
Probably.
he was basically an athletic freak that just
He is.
won in college, so he needs to actually learn route running and blocking. If he does that, I'm significantly more interested. Now, the rookie tight end I'm actually more interested in, just based on how the offense
Hurst?
utilizes tight ends, and
Hurst.
that's Hayden Hurst.
I still expect Mark Andrews to do something. And
Well, he's hurt right now.
That's where okay.
Is he?
Yeah, he's dealing with a
I must have missed
hamstring
that.
strain.
Fucking work.
I mean, it matters, but I mean, still later in the season. And then, I mean, I honestly think their wide receiver core is probably deeper than it's been in a while.
Again, a lot of mouths to feed there.
Which is weird to say because there's a lot of risk associated with that wide receiver core, but there's a lot of upside with that wide receiver core too.
Yeah,
there is.
John Brown's been good when he's healthy. Crabtree is
A lot of
Crabtree
positive
at
news.
this point.
A lot of positive news
Willie
on John Brown.
Snead's disappearance last year, I think, was more based on the suspension and just being in Peyton's doghouse than
And
it
he
was
was
anything
hurt.
else.
And he was dealing with being nicked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they use the tight end. Whoever the top tight end is does get good volume, probably 80, 90 target type range. So if Hurst can get a stranglehold on that job, that might have some
Well,
value.
we hope so. I want them to, but
You're also a Ravens
I'm
fan.
also a Ravens fan.
Mate, you don't want to waste that first round pick.
Terrible.
So,
Worst
but yeah.
fucking pick in the first round.
But yeah, I do like, just based on situation alone, Hurst kind of rises to the top to me, even though I don't generally like rookie tight ends.
Me either.
All right. Any other players you want to quick call out here that we didn't talk about?
I don't think so. Let me take a quick look real quick.
Maybe
Dan,
RSJ?
yeah, Dan has a little bit higher rank on RSJ. Hopper and I did not like him as much in projections.
I don't think he's going to get suspended. And again, we're talking about,
I
an offense with not a lot of mouths to feed. Maybe. I don't know. He flashed a little bit. Like I said, he's at 21 for me. So it's not, that's maybe higher. But this is all late dart throws.
I think the other two dart throws that you have to call out are Blake Jarwin's been getting a lot of hype with Dallas and the vacated targets that were left by Jason Witten. I mean, that tight end position should produce. And then Jordan Leggett with the Jets is another one that I want to take a look at. Just again, invoking the LaFell rule.
They just waived Bucky
some
Hodges.
tight end has to start. Bucky Hodges got waived, and what's his face has legal trouble. So,
and as we mentioned, Jesse James, if the McDonald injury is serious, would be one to take a look at.
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson was the other one I wanted to bring out, who Hopper did not rank, but the two of us liked it a little bit.
I like him a little bit more there. I mean, obviously, Ebron died there, but
he's been more of a blocker though.
When he's been given a chance, and that's the thing.
That's the thing.
He's ranked 26. So
like
again,
Nick said,
the
the Lions haven't really supported anybody. Wilson's been around the league a couple of years, and Michael Roberts has also flashed a little bit when he's had the chance. So
someone's gonna catch 3 touchdowns and 3 targets in a game.
The Fourier rule.
And that offense, it's always fucking 1 or 2 games that he does that. Darren Fells.
Yeah, Darren Fells in for,
Jesus.
for. All right. Well, that wraps up tight ends. Sorry if this episode went a little too long. Hopper, can they do some entries into the listener league?
You can DM me stuff at HotBFF
With 2 Ps.
with 2 Ps. iTunes subscription.
No, iTunes review.
iTunes review, YouTube subscription, or a donation to Fantasy Cares. By the way, keep that going. Donation can be in any amount, but that does help support Toys for Tots. It's through Scott Fish out of Eagan, Minnesota, who, if you don't know who he is, he's probably the nicest guy in fantasy. So make sure that you screenshot that one and shoot it over to me as well.
Yep. So thank you so much. If you guys can do those entries, reminder that YouTube is Beerfield Fantasy Football. If you want to be able to watch that, you can watch Hopper jumping out of his chair as he's jumping on calls. Facebook is also Beerfield Fantasy Football.
You can see my artful hat throw.
Yep, the Artful Hat Throw on episode. Twitter, Facebook, or Twitter, Untapped, and Instagram is Beerfield FF. Check out all the can art on Instagram. Beer reviews are on Untapped for you.
Yep.
All right. Anything else we want to shout out here before we call an episode?
Nope. Tune in Wednesday. Nick, ask us questions.
Yep. We're going to put these guys on the hot seat on Wednesday, and then next week we go to 3 weeks. We'll catch you guys next time on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya.
Peace.
I don't even know what I'm doing right now.
Never edit.